just go on YouTube, Mwangaza SDA Church, or on Facebook, copy that link and share it on your WhatsApp status or on your group that you're heading. If you're a head of department, kindly do that so that we can have more people engage in this seminar. Now, thank you for coming back. As we welcome our speaker, who is ready, I have a question to all of us. I have an engaging question to all of us. So I ask for your attention just for a minute. Just for a minute. Just for a minute. I want to engage us in a thinking game. In a thinking and imaginary game. Just for a minute. So I'm going to pick random people who are going to help respond to this question. If today you are given a million shillings, a million Kenyan shillings, specifically for God's purpose, for God's work, how would you budget that money? How would you budget that money? If you are given 1 million shillings today, milioni moja, for God's work, how would you budget for that money? So I'm giving us a minute to think on how you're going to budget 1 million shillings specifically for God's work. And I'm going to get your feedback on the same, even as we prepare to welcome our speaker. So think of how you'd budget 1 million shillings for God's work. For those who are entering, we've done two things. One, we've shared the YouTube link for this program on our WhatsApp status and on various walls that we had as departments. So you can also do that. And then secondly, if today you are given 1 million shillings specifically for God's work, how would you budget it? Thank you. So I'm going to take a few responses. Any person? There are no wrong answers. There are no wrong answers, and there are no right answers. That's the beauty of this. So 1 million shillings, how would you budget it if you're given today, now? Anyone? Felix? Thank you.
I think we have just learned that we need to be honest. I want to be honest.
Yes, please be honest.
We cannot budget with what I don't have. So unless I have that money, I will budget it for the God's cause. Thank you. Any word I say will be accounted for me. Thank you so much.
That's a nice one. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Imagine, you see. Okay, yes, Merita.
I think when you asked that question, the first thing I thought about is our library.
Okay.
So I think I would get either a container, and then we do some space for the library, and then people could also have some seats to just sit and read through them.
Wonderful. That's nice. That's nice. Anyone else would want to try? What would you do with 1 million shillings today? Specifically for God's work. I'm going to take 2 responses and then I welcome the speaker. There are no wrong answers. There are no right answers. Yes, Brenda.
My department needs 114,000 for the year, so I'll apportion that to the department, and then
60,000.
Sorry.
And the remaining 60,000.
The other money, I feel like our church needs a facelift, so I'll donate it to that.
Thank you. Facelift. That's wonderful. One last person. Anyone who'd want to try? Yes.
Sorry, for me, I'll be a bit selfish to my department. And I think I'll donate it straight to education. And if there is anything I'll do, then it should go to education, for me to see that there is a school here.
Thank you. That's very nice. Mr. Mambo, I hope you'll heard those responses, and maybe you could help them know how they can budget for 1 million. Maybe you can start by encouraging Felix that we can get 1 million. We live by faith. We live by faith. Sasa, thank you very much. Welcome, Mr. Mambo.
Thank you so much, and once again, thank you for the honor to allow me to come to make a presentation on budgeting, and as well as fundraising methods, audit principles, and financial controls. I see some people are outside. Don't know whether we... Okay. Kindly, those who are outside, you can be coming in. We begin. Yeah, just to make a comment, Vinny had requested one of my fellow church members from Parklands, Sister Rose Moniki. I know she has been here before. Rose, we serve together, so that's why I found myself coming and taking her place to be able to make the presentation. So we have 4 topics to cover. The first one is budgeting in ministry. I defined budgeting as the process of planning an organization incomes and expenditure. And this is for a specific period of time. So when you are budgeting, we're looking at your incomes, your expenses, and for what period of time. It can either be a month, a quarter, or annually. From this budgeting, you're making informed financial decisions and be able to check your performance. So budgeting for church is vital to steward resources with integrity and purpose. It involves planning income and expenses to support ministry goals and sustain church operations. The presentation, as I talked about, will cover principles, processes which a church may adopt in budgeting. In budgeting, we have essentials, key aspects which we need to consider. Our mission. What is the mission of the church? So the budget should align with the church's mission and ministry priorities. So you find that for every church, there's a particular aspect which is given priority. Like now, I would say for Parklands, we are currently doing our church development. So in our planning, that aspect takes priority. Evangelism, if you're keen, maybe for that particular year, you're keen on doing outreach activities like evangelism, you will find yourself in that budgeting process doing a key emphasis on budget allocation. It also involves the accurate income estimation. For a church setup, our income is mainly through church giving, tithes, offerings. Oftenly, we may get donations from well-wishers from other institutions. Then for churches with facilities, like maybe you hire a church for weddings, for maybe if you have someone who wants to hire your chairs, your equipment. So that's a budget line for income if you do hire of church facilities. Then incomes could be through fundraising events, like if we have particular dates for church development. So when we are doing budgeting, that should come in play. Like, do we have set dates for fundraising for particular development concerns. It also involves expense categorization. In our expenditure report, every church has their own way of how they categorize their expenses. Like there's usually trust funds. Trust funds are the funds which are remitted to the CKC or the central, the conference, whichever conference that you're in. So the trust funds form as well part of the trust expenses. So that's an expense categorization. There is administrative expenses. You may have maybe all departments categorized as expenditure lines, like deaconry. So depending on how we look at how you can categorize, depending on what chart of accounts your church adopts. Then another aspect of budgeting is contingency funding. You set aside a particular percentage for unforeseen costs or emergencies. So when we budget for every line, we consider having a percentage to cater for whatever comes up which had not been allocated. Transparency and accountability. We keep the budget clear and share regular reports with the church members to build trust within leadership and also the congregation. So those are some of the essentials of budgeting which I came up with. Importance of budgeting in church. One, to stewardship of God's resources. Budgeting reflects faithful management of God's provisions through the congregation's giving. Members give because we are giving back to what God has already entrusted to us. We don't give what we don't have. We give because God has already given to us. And this giving is brought to a central storehouse. The storehouse has people or members who have been entrusted to manage and to stewardship the resources. So that is the aspect of stewardship. Financial clarity. A budget provides clear direction and prevents aimless spending. Without a budget, we will not know what we are focusing on or what exactly are we putting our resources for. So we'll find ourselves spending without a clear plan. So a budget helps in that. Ministry impact planning. When we budget, as I said, our focus is on which key ministry programs or aspect do we want to fund, do we want to really put more emphasis on. Like if you are building a church, more emphasis is on church development. You find that you will tailor the budget to focus on that. If maybe for that particular year you want to do evangelism, you'll find yourself allocating more funds to outreach programs. If you want to nurture, like the key focus for the church is like nurture programs, you find yourself doing programs, either doing weeks of prayers, inviting speakers for a particular, like a family life program, just to keep focus on the ministry impact of what the church has established. Then we also plan to avoid debt. Usually in church we don't talk much about debt because whatever we have in the storehouse for local to finance church operations, we leave to that means and maybe fail to do much of the programs because we do not have. But in some instances, we may find ourselves going into debt. Like I would give an example of our church. For our church development, we have engaged a contractor. We have a contract and there are milestones. So when a particular milestone is achieved and we don't have the money, the church board sits and we agree on how to get the funds for that particular milestone to be, for a fee not to be paid off. So in some instance, we found ourselves going to the conference to borrow or to try talk with the people who can listen to us to be able to extend to us a debt. So budgeting helps if you want to avoid debt, but in some instances you may not, and so that is why I brought in that aspect of debt. Building trust. Budgeting and regular reporting foster confidence among church members. You realize if we do our reporting, if we don't do reporting, regular reporting to the church members, you find that people, members will have always questions: how is our money, how is our giving utilized in the church? Some of the members may not know, like even how the giving is categorized. Trust funds, that money does not sit in the church, it goes directly to the conference. It does not support church operations. So when we are reporting and doing those regular updates, we are able to sensitize and also to educate members what all the giving they do, what does it do. When you give tithe, that money goes, the whole of that money goes straight to the conference. When you give combined offerings, 50% of that goes to the conference, the other 50% remains to support church operations. Then there are other local church budget, evangelism, like we usually see on our envelopes. So budgeting and also this regular reporting educate members and also foster this confidence among church membership. Church budgeting process. Anything dealing with matters of advancing God's kingdom, we begin with prayer and seek God's wisdom in every aspect of the process. So I included that part so that we don't forget. It's not just like budgeting, like we are doing our either home budgets or budgeting at our workplaces. This is matters of God's kingdom. So we involve Him through prayer when beginning. Then the second aspect is to obtain work plans from various church departments for the coming year. So budgeting usually happens before the close of the year. So when you start planning in the beginning of the year, you'll find that maybe the first quarter or the first 2 months, a lot will be happening which is not in alignment with the budget that will come to be passed. So the best timing to start budgeting is probably in the last quarter of the year, probably November there, because I think our year is January to December, unless maybe your year is different. There are some organizations which do like from July to June of the following year. So I believe in our church it's January to December. So from November through to December, the departments are doing work plans. You know what as a department you'd like to achieve in the following year, and maybe you can break it down into quarters. Like quarter one, this is what maybe the youth are planning for. In quarter two, like that. So each department sits in their councils, deliberate on plans for the coming year, and then now for the activities which require budgetary allocation, you do now that financial planning for that. So once this is done, we have a finance committee in our church Some of these things I'll know now what happens here or what, because I'll speak from now the experience of our church. We have a finance committee, so these plans and a strategic committee which reviews all the plans and collates them together, and these are now presented to the finance committee to analyze the ones which require budgetary allocation, and then by the end of the year we put up now the budget, especially for the departments. Then after obtaining these work plans, we review previous years, because the budget is for the following year, it is for that current year, actual income and expenditure, to analyze patterns, like how much was our giving for trust funds, how much was the giving for local church budget, local funds, what were our expenditure patterns. So when you obtain those patterns, we come to the number 4. We estimate now realistically, based on the patterns, income conservatively using trends. So what we've been doing for our church, we take actual income and expenditure for the previous year. Like let's say now we're in 2025. For 2025 we did actual income and expenditure for 2024. Then we review the incomes upwards, always being optimistic that the future holds a better day, and that also that membership keeps growing, and that we have not, there's usually a feeling that you've not reached out to members fully enough to be able to enable them or to encourage them to be faithful in giving. So we believe always, especially for incomes, there is always an expectation upwards that we can get more by doing programs, tailor-making programs to promote faithful giving. So we have been doing a review of like 20% upwards in our church, but for expenses, depending on the expenditure patterns, for expenses, you may find that if it's rent, it's constant. If you're talking about subscriptions, for subscriptions or payment for utilities, those ones may not vary so much. So there are usually assumptions, a lot of assumptions the finance committee makes when doing the budget lines. Then when budgeting, you prioritize expenses aligned to goals and mission. We talked about that. Finance committee drafts a detailed line-by-line budget with explanation. So for each line, you give an explanation, because you'll be presenting to the church board and to the church business meeting where all members are sitting. So it's good when budgeting to give explanations for the assumptions that you made to arrive at that, so that members can be able to challenge the reasonability, like why are we having this percentage review for this particular line and not the other one. Then we present the budget estimates to the church board and business meetings for approval. Once the church board is the highest decision-making body for the church, authority delegated from the church business meeting. The church business meeting is like the church membership. So a budget must be presented to the whole church membership for adoption, because when you're not moving along with members and they're the ones who are giving, of course a church relies on member giving, so it is good to move along with the church members. Then implement budget and monitor variances regularly. Once a budget has been adopted, moving forward now, the treasury department, whenever there is a requisition for allocation of funds, we refer to the budget to see whether was this item planned for in the first place. Do we have enough, based on now the request, do we have enough fund allocation for that particular budget line. And also, now the treasury team considers liquidity. Do we have enough funds to be able, enough cash flow to fund that? So when it comes to treasury, it's not just because an item is budgeted for, it has to be executed. It will depend on the cash flows and the liquidity as at that point. But at least the first check is, was it budgeted for? Was it thought for? Then finally, we report updates transparently to the church board and to the church business meetings. I will talk about fundraising methods, because after budgeting, the finance committee through the departments think through, we have budgeted, so what is the next step? We need to know how are we financing our activities. So the church may use various methods to finance its operations. So for me, I've just put a few. We could come up with more ideas and be able to give more insights. So group financing is fundraising is one of our key strategies for fundraising in our church in Parklands, and this has been very impactful when it comes to church development, because the normal member giving for specific items like church development may not work. So from the strategies that we used to employ, we found and narrowed down to group fundraising is the best approach, which works for us. So how you come up with the groups depends on like the demographics. Demographics you have in the church. Maybe you could look at, do we group people in terms of families? Do we group people in terms of maybe the youth, the women ministry, to fundraise differently? So for us, we adopted, in Parklands, we adopted going for families. We identify a family, and then we cluster members to support that family. Like, we identify like 70 families, and then for each family, you allocated like an additional 9 to 10 members. So a group has like 10 to 12 members. And we allocate targets for each group. Like, you're given this group, every group to do like 300,000. Targeting like 15 to 18 million every fundraiser. And I can testify that it has worked for us. Every fundraiser we have done averagely 10 million from fundraising through the groups. So this has worked. The first method has worked for us for church development. The second one, encouraging giving towards the local church budget. We realized most of the members, I think majority of the members know, when I give tithe and offerings, then it's done. So we do promotions to educate members that when you give towards tithe and offerings, the whole of tithe goes to the conference. 50% of the combined offering goes to the conference. So what remains to run church operations is the remaining 50% of the combined offerings. So we have been doing promotions for members to give directly to local church budget, because that is what runs the church. So we tell members, it's good that you're giving towards trust funds, but it is not enough, because now our church cannot operate and we can't retain the funds. They'll be remitted to the conference. So this has helped. How we do it, we come up with some pledge forms and issue to members. So members will be able to commit to something, like, say, for this month or for this year, every month I'll be giving 1,000, 2,000 or 5,000 towards local church budget. So when you do that, we realize if we need like 1 million to run church operations in a year, no, in a month, then when we collect through this way and we're able to meet that target, this fundraising method works. Instead of now assuming members will give towards the offerings and that 50% will be able to support that, it might not. So what has worked for us is that the special promotions to give in towards local church budget. Then there's also fundraising through departments. This one, we use it mainly where for departmental activities. If the youth are planning for retreats, maybe a retreat or a nature Sabbath or any other activity, we encourage those departments to fundraise within their departments. Like instead of now the youth coming and saying, we have a retreat, we need this, we need like 100,000 or 50,000 for that program, then we tell the youth, fundraise within your group. Maybe you are 200. When each person gives maybe 200 or 300, it will be able to cater for that budget. So that's another way of reducing pressure on the overall church budget by fundraising through departments. Then running programs to promote faithful giving. This one, I think it must be happening here. Programs such as Stewardship Week of Prayer and regular reminders during the offertory time can inspire members to be faithful in returning tithes and offerings and to understand the spiritual importance of giving. Giving mainly, it's more spiritual than just the reminders. So for us, what we have adopted is doing bringing programs to encourage members, like to lift members spiritually, so that now in response it becomes impactful for them to be faithful in giving, and not just maybe to stand always to promote and say you need to give for a particular thing. When we bring a Stewardship Week of Prayer or a revival, Sabbath, or a program that members feel it's tailor-made towards the giving and stewardship, but now members align so much on it because it's more focused on spiritual growth and not giving. So that's something we've also done, which has also been impactful. So that is it for the fundraising methods and for church budgeting. Vinny, you may take up from here.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if we have any questions, comments on this segment. Tony can help me project the questions that we are asking. But if we have a comment or a question, let's feel free to ask at this point before we transition to the next presentation. I'm seeing one hand, 2 hands, all right. Okay, so we'll take, I forget your name, but we can take you first. No, you, Education Secretary. You can remind us your name, my apologies.
You called me Makrina in one of the messages. I'm called Moses Machemo. Thank you. In one of the fundraising methods, and I'm talking about this because of our situation in our church, it's talked about putting members in smaller groups. And he talks about around 10 to 12 members in a group. This is something that I've really observed in this church that has a problem, and I think their leaders have walked into and tried to convince them that our groups, our fundraising groups of over 70 people is not effective at all. Group fundraising groups need to be manageable and small. In a church like Mwangaza, if we had 50 groups and each group given a target of 100,000, it is easier to meet 5 million than to tell 100 people to give you 700,000. So that's basically what I wanted to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Pascal. You want to weigh in or ask a question?
Mine is a question because we are in a learning environment so that we can help our church grow and help ourselves in the future. I want to appreciate the presentation of our brother, and I was following your presentation and how you're fundraising, and I want to appreciate that the congregation at Parklands might be different like what ours. So there's that aspect, because you said about putting people into 10 and then adding more people to, so it might not work. Maybe there are things that might work for us who are picking the points. My question is, and I'll really need you to help us. I'm coming from a background where I was serving at the university church. We had a financial committee that was help us manage the funds and everything. You've talked about budgeting committee. So I'm so interested to understand their differences and what they do. That is one. I'll need to know about the budgeting committee. How is it independent from the finance committee? That's one. Number two, you've talked about the financial committee or budgeting committee meeting before the year begins. And according to our church systems, based on different churches, our nominations might go beyond. What is the composition? Who initiates the budgeting committee? Who initiates the financial committee? Does it come from the department level? Is it an elders thing? And for how long? Because they are budgeting, and who are the composition? Is it the departmental leaders? Because there might be a change in this. So I'll wish to understand how Parklands does it, so that if Mwangaza in the future will pick something of the sort, so that we can help ourselves navigate this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think you can just join me here and respond to those two questions. If you're afraid of standing here, you can use that QR code to ask your question, and we can get your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinny and Pastor. So, just a correction. Two committees, finance committee, strategic leadership. Yes. So the strategic leadership one focuses on work plans, strategies of to be employed, to be able to meet like the activities and also the plans. The finance committee one is the one that does budgeting and is the one that discusses now requisition process for anything that is to be executed from our church finances. So the composition of the finance committee, this one I wouldn't want to say it's supposed to be so a particular way, but I think we borrowed, I don't know whether there's something of that sort in the church manual, but we have the church pastor, the head elder. The head elder in Parklands is usually the elder in charge of treasury. So by that virtue, he belongs to the finance committee. Then the church treasurer, the stewardship ministries leader, and the we have the deputy head elder. So we are around 5. So the church, through the church board, can adopt members of the church board from the roles they are serving to be able to form that committee. But by virtue of the positions, the stewardship ministries leader, the church treasurer, the church pastor, being the chairman, must be in that committee. I don't know now in your church, the elder in charge of treasury must be there. If it's not the first elder, that elder who is in charge of treasury. So the importance of that committee is that the treasurer is not left to make decisions on church finances or stewardship ministries leader. So when you are meeting as a committee, and the committee also acts as, it serves the interest of the church board. The church board may come, discuss items requiring church finances, and then due to time, they are not able to make a decision at that point. So the matters are usually referred to the finance committee for further deliberation to advise the board. So I would say, maybe just to ask, do you have a finance committee in the church?
The composition sounds like the composition of the stewardship committee. So I wanted to ask you, what's the difference between a finance committee and a stewardship council? Because our stewardship council comprises of those people that you have mentioned.
Actually, no, that is the, so the stewardship council, is what now for us we call the finance committee. Yeah, so that is the committee that discusses church finances.
All right, thank you. Tony, we can see if there are any questions that have come. Mr. Mambo, just stay here with us. Let's get other questions from the floor. Let's have Mrs. Agneta. Oh, all right. Arnold, then Elder Migiro, then Elder Oding. You can join us.
Good afternoon, everyone. My question is simple. It's just a question. I want to get clarity when you're talking about the budgeting, the fundraising, and everything. You have not talked about the digital infrastructure that are needed to ensure that there's feasibility and also clarity in terms of the budgeting and the processes. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Bambo. I have a question on fundraising. Now that you have successfully done this in Parklands, and there is information that at times you do fundraise from outside. My question is it proper, or with your experience, would you advise that experts in your church, especially the finance experts, do a proposal for external fundraising? And in that regard, because I know Parklands, part of it, you've been getting some support from some sponsors outside. How do you do that?
Thank you. The first question, is it about automation or? Okay, from my understanding, so how we do budgeting, you see, for a church, budgeting and reporting process in a church is usually not complex. So what I've seen is a basic budgeting process through just doing work plans in Excel, You do a work plan for each department in Excel. Then we have what we know administratively. These are our expenses. We put that together. Maybe I could put a template of one that we use. It's just a simple Excel. And then we key in the figures. We do a review, maybe a percentage increase or decrease depending on what was the actual income or expenditure for that line item. And then now we do, we put it in a presentation of some sort. So we don't have like dashboards or the ones which are used in the corporate world, like you do dashboards and then you're tracking in the system, if this happens, this changes. So for us, we have been doing just the basic Excel budgeting process. I don't know.
I think that suffices. You can answer the second question.
On the second one, I don't know whether I got it right. Fundraising method, external fundraising. We have a development committee. The development committee sits. Then once we align on dates for fundraising and the groups are ready and notified, as a committee, they identify, do we want to invite someone, either some key guests or to the final fundraiser date. Sometimes I've seen letters being done to particular individuals, especially if we are maybe targeting some politicians who are church members or other churches. We do letters. We send out the letters to them. The development committee now focuses on that, especially the external ones. The church members focus on the groups, the group fundraising. So when the letters are sent out, their responses, the committee gets feedback, and then people just send their giving. Either they come or they just send. We usually given feedback during the fundraiser that we've gotten donation or giving from someone in Germany or someone in far away, or this particular leader send their donation. So we just do letters and invite them. I don't know if from experts.
Proposal writing for experts for projects in the church.
Sorry.
Proposal writing for experts in the church, from experts in the church on projects for the church.
On matters fundraising.
Yes.
That one I'm not so privy to. Proposal in what? Just guiding the church on how best to do particular.
So the question is, from what I've understood, is there room for us as a church? Is it a space we can we do proposals to external parties to support different projects in the church? Is that a scope? Is that something you've tried in your church? Has it been successful? Is it something you've implemented in Parklands? I believe that's the question.
It's just the same thing I've talked about. We identify either a church or individuals, then we reach out to them through just writing to them, no more letters. You see, for proposal, I don't get that picture of what is the in a proposal. We just do letters, just normal letters, inviting them to support, and then we get such donations.
Thank you. Elder Oding.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mambo. I'm very much impressed. On the budgeting, actually it is about the income and the expenditure budgeting. Normally, I think it has been like a call that bring up your budgets. The budgets, proposals, or projections. Normally, they are about financial projections against the activities. I don't know in your church and in your line whether do you normally have time? Because on our side, it is normally the heads of departments who are called upon to bring their budgets. And at times, whenever I see them, it seems just like maybe a norm of maybe just bringing for the sake that they have been asked to do it. Do you normally have a session with the heads or with the leaders, I don't know, in your scenario, to make people really understand what it is? Because by having the projection of the budget, at times or in the normal situation, the person who has done it need to make you or convince to understand actually, and what would actually happens if his projections are not met. That is number one, that you normally have session with the heads of the department to make them actually understand what it is, not just a matter of bringing the budget. Secondly, there is this position of the stewardship. And I would request you to make it very much clear. To me, in my contemporary financial aspect, in a practical application of stewardship, I think the stewardship in the church, it has been belittled. People have not come to dig deep into it to understand actually what does the stewardship stands for. What does it mean in the church? What are his role? He is giving or she's given a half-baked role. What is the real, because what is really, if you translate it in the financial aspect of it, what is actually the role of the stewardship in the church? Not just a matter of standing and given a half-baked role, then it reaches a stage and then she or he is left as if she's not needed, maybe his father services. I believe there is a role which is not being utilized. What is actually the role of the stewardship as far as the financial aspect or the control or the committee is concerned? Or where are her or his limitations?
Thank you for the questions. So on the first one, so departmental leaders, when they do their work plans and share the activities for the year and their budgetary implications, there's a department which spearheads that process of doing work plans, review of the plans. They in alignment with the forecast for the church at that particular time. Before the plans come now to finance committee to do final allocations. Now that is the strategic leadership. Because leaders are not just left on their own to just send your work plan, and then there's a department which deals with looking at the plans, discussing the plans with the departmental leaders, aligning the strategy of the church with those activities, and then now the ones with budgetary implications come to finance committee. Now in finance committee, you will have sent to us the financial implication. We will check through from the allocations that we have and say, you requested for this item, it's $500,000. the church can only allocate you 100,000 for this. So the difference of that, you will need to now either seek other means of fundraising, which could be through the department, especially if it's a department like the youth, the AMO, AWM, where there are members, not a department like communication where if they need to buy equipment, that squarely lies to the local church budget. So when those requests come, we allocate now as a finance committee based on how we feel the church will be able to carry that particular burden at that time. But in terms of aligning the activities, there's a strategic team that looks into the activities so that they're in line with the strategy of the church. In terms of the stewardship role, let me say just as a stewardship leader like Vinny, what I focus on mainly is to ensure there are programs, because stewardship is about the whole Christian life, and as a Christian, it's stewardship. Just knowing that ourselves and everything we got is come from God, and we are just stewards of His abundance, knowing that. So the key focus is to ensure that members are being spiritually nourished in church. And because there's that aspect of giving, when members are spiritually nourished and know giving is an expression of, like, you're not giving because you're expected to support. God has blessed us and entrusted us with all that abundance, and we just give back as an expression of His goodness in our lives. So it's doing such impactful messaging in the church so that now members can respond to the call of supporting, because we exist and the church needs to be operational, so to support in church operations. So there's the aspect of spiritual growth of the church members, and of course that call for members to support the programs of the church and also operations. And so the department, most of the times I see when we hold the stewardship week of prayer and it's done, it's like now our work has almost done, but it's continuous effort to always keeping members spiritually engaged and to be able to respond, especially to matters of running the church.
Thank you.
Maybe Vinny, you can add something.
Okay, Pastor Pascal.
There's something. Let me share a little bit of knowledge that I have acquired also. Matters budgeting for the church. There's something that we used to do where I'm giving these references to where I was serving. The budgeting committee, the finance committee, which I have now learned that you people have a planning committee, that all plans that have been planned, they go through there and they streamline, and then they come to the what? To the finance committee. Now, church members and fellow leaders, this is what we used to do. After the budget have come to the elders' office, and the elders are fine with all the budgets and even the allocations, the elders will not do anything. It will be taken to the finance committee. The finance committee will now look at the church financial strength and if they can manage. And every department was given a ceiling that you ask for this, like what you are saying, you ask for 100,000, but we are giving you, as a department, we are giving you 50,000. So as you do your work, as you ask for funding, you are asking based on your what? You are ceiling, the amount that you've been allocated. If there is anything extra from what you asked, it is squarely on you. And on the budgeting, when they come, you'll ask, how are you going to fund your events? You will say church, upkeep, and the rest. So if Pathfinder Club has been given 500,000 as a budget allocated, the church will not give beyond what? 500,000. They will be asking, and when that one is done, you are telling now your money is what? Is done. So as you request for monies, you will be deducting your account. And then after doing that, there's something that we used to do also, that because every department has brought a budget, and we now know Mwangaza, or let me talk of Bugema SDA Church, by then we had a budget of 1 billion Ugandan money. So this 1 billion, who is going to fund it? The church members and everyone. So we are pushing the church members to give, so that when departments come for money, they can get something. But when you allocate and there's no funds, then you are crippled. That's how we used to do it there, just sharing on top of what you've asked, on the same one, that you have a ceiling, you cannot go beyond this. Anything beyond that, it is upon the department. And some other departments that you brought, if you want to, there are recurrent events like station events that come along the year, they can be allocated as a supplementary budget. That's what I can share on what is being shared. I don't know if it is in line with what you do at Parklands, but that's how we used to do it where I was. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. There are 2 questions which we will take. Then we move to the... Please make it very brief.
Thank
and
you.
clear.
I'm very much brief. My brothers just answered so well on the first question. Just on the side of about the stewardship. The first one is very well in the spiritual aspect. And we are seeing that the stewardship, it is coming and is ending at a point of income budgeting. And we are not using this stewardship at the expenditure budgeting. I hope we are getting one another. And this one, in the practical application, this is the financial officer of the church. This is the person who knows how the financials were allocated against the vote heads. And this is the person who is supposed to give a clearance that that activity which has been applied for has got the funds, and gives the recommendation for the treasurer to go ahead. And that is why I was saying that this person is given a half-baked role. The way we are using this person in the income expenditure, we must do the double entry. As well, this person must have a comment and a say on the expenditure budgeting.
Okay, thank you. I think that's very clear. And maybe Mr. Mambo may not be privy to this, but these are some of the things that we have incorporated as recommendations. Once we present, I believe some of us here are board members, we have some recommendations on the strategy of the church, which some of the members are here. Merita is here, our secretary. We're finalizing on the strategic committee, strategic plan for our church. And there are a few recommendations that have been made for deliberation by the board. So those are good ideas. Thank you very much. Because as it stands, we, as a stewardship department, we are only receiving the budgets from from some of you, not even all of you. So we are not even able to do proper projections for our church. So we are just doing the doing. You know what we said, it's just a position. You don't really understand the responsibility. We've not fully embraced the responsibilities God has given us. So it's a call to all of us to wake up. When we are talking about budgeting for our church, what exactly does it mean? When we are talking about planning for your department, what exactly does it mean? Strategic leadership, that's where we need to move towards. And I believe that's something we are working on. You may not really be in private to responding to that. So thank you, Elder, for such additions to this conversation. So let's go quickly. I know you have another presentation. Let's answer these two questions. Is it essential that the members of the financial committee have financial expertise, or is it just by the virtue I am the first elder, maybe I'm an engineer, I'm the first elder, should I join the financial committee when maybe the third elder or the other elders, there's someone there with financial expertise who would be of more benefit to the committee than the first elder? How do you balance the two? I believe that's what this person is asking.
Good question. It's very key to have someone with financial expertise in that committee. So the roles I identified, which are the stewardship council mainly, those ones we maintain them, but if we do not have someone with the financial expertise, we co-opt. Through the church board, we are able to add someone now who will bring value, especially on the budgeting and financial management. So I would say in my role, I was nominated because I have that knowledge in finance. The elders, you find that maybe one of the elders is a finance person, so that adds, but the rest might not be, but now through the expertise, we're able now to bring value to the process.
Thank you. I believe this second question you will answer in your next presentation. They're asking about how to present financial reports in a very simple manner that is understandable. So you can just stand there. We'll transition you to your next presentation. And members, if you still have questions, please feel free to send them in and they'll be addressed after this presentation. You can begin. As we wait for him to set up, maybe I can ask a question to Elder One. I saw Elder One. Oh, okay. Our former Elder One, Elder Sitati. In what instances is one allowed or justified to turn an opportunity to lead or even to step down? When can someone choose to step down from a leadership position?
Okay, it's a bit tricky, but stepping down as a leader is not, I think, in church, because Vinay, are you giving me a yes? I'm just saying, in church setup, as you understand where we come from when we want to choose our leaders, it's through nominating committee, and we appoint leaders, and it's kind of voluntary service. So by having said that, at some instance maybe when you feel that you're not fit for that service, or maybe the environment that you are in is not fit for you. But on rare cases, I want to feel that as a church member, you should serve to the last day of your term. That's 1 year. Then coming the next year, maybe you can, through the church pastor, you can say that you are not ready to serve for the second term. But stepping down as a leader in church, when you have already accepted that role, it's not fair to the church, but we always give room that before we now do the second reading, you can have a word with the pastor and say that you are not ready to do that, but not in between the term and you say that now you have to step down. To me, that will not be fair to the church.
Thank you. Let's transition to our final presentation.
Thank you, Vinny. Financial reporting modules. These are basic tools and reports a church uses to... Thank you for that. To track, manage, and communicate how members are giving and how the money is spent. It is important to keep the records that promote transparency, accountability, and good stewardship. So there are basic reports for a church. Income and expenditure is the key one. Bank reconciliations, to be able to agree our balances with versus what we have in the bank. Budget versus actual reports, departmental reports, and a balance sheet. If in your church you have a list of your assets, the chairs, furniture, equipment, communication equipment, if you have a list of that, you could put that in a church registry to form a sort of a balance sheet. But what I've seen mainly, the key report for a church is the income and expenditure, and then checked by a bank reconciliation report. The income and expenditure, the income report shows a total member giving in summary. That is trust funds, local church budget, department of funds, and other incomes. The expenditure report details all expenses incurred during the period under consideration and is broken down into chart of accounts, depending on now your expense lines. A budget versus actual compares actual income and expenses against the approved budget. We remember we began from a budget which is approved. It is used to track and to track our expenditure to ensure that it is in line with what was approved initially. And then when checking that, we highlight variances for informed decisions. If we are operating within our budget, usually there are no questions or entrances for approval. If the church is in a liquidity position which can allow. If the church is not in a position to fund a particular request, then a decision is made. Finance committee advises the board on such. If the variance is like an over expenditure, then that is voted by the church board depending on the need. A bank reconciliation report ensures church records match bank statements, and this one helps in detecting errors and irregularities in a timely manner. So I'll still say our experience in Parklands, every month we report to the church board, treasury report mainly, the income and expenditure, and then a bank reconciliation which shows all the bank accounts that we have, which reconcile now to trust funds and the departmental funds. Because if we say we have 1 million in the bank, what do we say it reconciles to? It must be either we are holding some funds which are supposed to remit to the conference, or whatever we have relates to our local funds for using in our church operations, or the money, part of it relates to departments. Maybe women ministry have a kitty there, armor and such. So that reconciliation report shows the money that we have in the bank, it's spread across these particular lines, these departments and the trust funds and the other income lines. I would want to show like a format of this is just a simple Excel showing like the line items we track income and expenditure. Trust funds, tithe have combined. Committing offerings and Nairobi. On the envelopes, you usually see some line there, Nairobi Station Development Fund. So all these, we categorize them under trust funds. Then we come to local funds. What we refer to local funds, one is the half combined, that 50% I talked about, which is retained in the church, local church. Then there is a line we usually give towards specifically local church budget. Then local committing, Msamaria Mwema, we usually give to a kitty called Msamaria Mwema, youth ministry, children ministry, all those departments. There are particular giving which are identified specifically to these lines. So we just list them in a simple way in Excel. Then we collect that as the total local funds. Then we come to expenditure. Of course, we do now reporting in PowerPoint presentation, but this is the basic Excel which we put in all the particular line items before presenting. We have a system, a QuickBooks system, which we've not started relying on it. So currently we are still using the basic Excel, but for a system, it's usually very easy. Because when you key in the records in every particular line, then you generate a report without having to put this together. So for expenses, still trust funds are trust expenses. So that goes then for local expenses, we have like administration, office, rent, those leases, telephone bills, salaries, security and such. So all those are just listed. Then we have expenses touching on in-reach programs, outreach programs, and such. So we just categorize them the way we'd like to present them in our church. So I just wanted to show like just a sample of how we do. So local church budget, we usually present this one also separately because it's key in showing members how we are performing, what our local church budget looks like, and the activities that we have, and to show the shortfalls or if we have a surplus, so that now members are aware of our state of affairs. So we just show the income for local church is usually half combined offering and they support directly to local church budget. Then the expenditure, we usually put them in the key ones, salaries for church workers, administrative expenses, deaconry expenses, evangelism. We usually do a lunch fellowship, departmentals. The departmentals now we put all the expenditure requirements there, or what has gone into expenditure for departments. And then we have Sabbath schools we usually support. So usually put the key lines and show this is the money that we need to run church operations every month. This is how it's broken down to. So either we show an opening balance and a closing balance to show, are we in a surplus or a deficit position? So do we need to do more promotions to support the kitty, or we can keep encouraging members to remain faithful if we are in a surplus position? For church development, we also do it separately because we usually present the income and expenditure for development separately. Yeah, we can go back to the audit principles and financial controls. So, robust checks and balances are necessary to ensure transparency, accountability, and responsible use of church funds. The essential audit principles and financial controls are outlined on the subsequent slides. So we have structures. These structures, I could call organization structure or church structure. They help in setting up processes and procedures which form, maybe we may not look at them as controls, but they are good controls, because in every stage there is what every particular structure does. Departmental councils, each church department, youth, AMO, AWM, and the others have councils which plan activities and discuss needs. So everything begins, especially activities and items requiring financial support, begin from councils. Plans are submitted to the Elders Council, who either approve and forward them to the church board or return them for revision with feedback. So once councils sit, the activities, they channel them now to the Elders Council through the elder in charge, and then this is discussed. The elders at that point can be able to approve or to return that particular request at that point. So when it comes to the board can go to a church board oversight. The church board, being the highest decision-making authority, reviews departmental requests, budgets, and fund usage. Only after their approval can now the Treasury Department release funds, ensuring controlled financial stewardship. So from the level after the church board discusses activities and approves the activities to be executed, or church finances to be released, now a requisition process begins. So you've come from departmental councils. I didn't include the Elders Council, but it's there. Departmental Council, Elders Council, then the church board. Then after that, now we come to a requisition process for church funds. So requests are submitted through, for us, we do an online system. I don't know whether here you do manually or you have a system for requisitioning. If youth planning to go for a retreat, the youth leader will initiate a process in the system. Like when there is a monetary implication. If it's just an activity, it will be approved at the board level, and then they can proceed, especially if the fundraising is coming from the department. But if church finances are involved, a requisition process begins. The elder in charge of the department reviews. So in that system, we have approval hierarchy. From the leader, it goes to the elder in charge, who reviews and then approves the request. From the elder in charge, it goes to the church treasurer. The church treasurer checks on approval, a church board minute approval, to check whether that item was cleared by the board. Then once that is okay, he approves, and then a notification is sent to a church email, which is usually operated by the church accountant. So once the church accountant gets that notification, he initiates now a payment process. So the payment process, after approval of requisition, the church accountant initiates payments via online banking. Funds are only released once approved by authorized signatories. We have signatories. I don't know whether this is guided by church manual, but this is our practice in church. The church clerk, the head elder, the church pastor, and church treasurer are the authorized signatories for our church. Then the approval mandate, which we have, is to have 3 approving, with the church treasurer being a mandatory signatory and the final one to be able to release funds. We create supplier accounts for payment to suppliers and CKC transfers on the bank platform, so that once the approval is done by the signatories, funds are now transferred through EFTs or RTGS. For departments, because departments, we cannot have an account for department, what we have been doing, the accountant withdraws funds through a check which is approved the same way by the signatories. And then now that amount is withdrawn. Of course, it's agreed to, that movement of funds to the bank statements. And then this money is put in a church. We have a church phone, which is still operated by the church accountant. So it's the one that manages our petty cash, and also now this payment to particular departments. So once the money is withdrawn, it's put in that account, because we do not encourage cash transactions. So it's put in the church phone and then sent to the particular departmental leaders. So if it's sent now to the leader will come to account for the expenditure after the activity is done, which is required by the board. It's presented to a board. We have a financial reporting template, which indicates all the details which are necessary for reporting. Yeah, so that is the transparent reporting and on use of funds. Then post-activity, departmental leaders must submit reports using a standard reporting outlining how funds are used. This consistent reporting fosters transparency and allows monitoring of funds effectiveness in ministry work. I'll show you a template. Let me just show.
If you have a question, you can start posting it on Slido. Our time is almost up. The presentation is almost also coming to an end. So if you have a question, feel free to start sending it in.
So on top of the normal reporting that we do for activities, showing how effective the activity was, recommendations, if there are recommendations for improvement for such activities. For the finance part, we have issued every department with this simple reporting template. It's also done when requisitioning for the funds. The activity, indicate the activity dates, the total budget approved, the church board minute, which clears these for request for church funds, and then now itemized of all the items approved budget, actual spend, variance, and supporting documentation, the receipts and every other supporting document for that particular activity. So this is usually shared with the treasurer, who checks it against the allocation for that. The leader also presents it at the church board level while presenting the other report for an activity that was executed. Yeah, so internal audit function, as I mentioned, we felt it necessary in our church to put up an internal audit function. Treasury does all record keeping and reporting to the church board. Usually, the essence of an internal audit is to have another independent person from that treasury function who occasionally or either requested by the board to do a particular check for a particular thing, or just in the normal routine work of an auditor to review maybe church records for a period of time and give feedback on the financial health status of the church, whether the reports which are presented to the board are accurate and free from any misstatement. So it's an additional function to give confidence that the reports which are usually presented to the board, they're not a doctor, they're not created, it's not creative accounting, but it's based on actual support documentation. And also, internal audit does not just focus on the numbers alone, also focuses on the processes. We have processes in the church. Every department, how we come up with our activities and also how we fund our activities, there's a process. When maybe, let's say, we are planning an AMO breakfast. How do we decide? How do we come up with that activity? How do we decide on it? So the internal auditor will check whether do the council sit? Do we have council minutes which can show a testament of that? Or is it just the leader who is coming up with a program and saying we are doing this and rolling it out to the church? So the processes and the procedures, the internal auditor checks whether that is adhered to. If you do not have processes, then the internal auditor helps in coming up with a procedure. Like, what is our way of doing things? Like now the requisition process, I remember that's something we suggested to the board and it was adopted. Like there be that process of requisition, because initially we were doing manual requisition. We had a book where leaders come and write a request for these funds. Then there are no approvals. The accountant releases the money and then everyone wonders who approved for this to be released. So those basic, they may appear basic, but the process and the controls are very key to ensure that nothing falls within the cracks. Their findings and recommendations are reported to the church board to strengthen financial governance. In conclusion, budgeting aligns church finances with mission and ministry priorities. Accurate estimation, monitoring and reporting builds trust and stewardship. Regular financial reporting keeps leadership and congregation informed. Strong financial controls protect resources and maintain accountability. And also, let's remember always to pray about our plans and support healthy church finances and ministry impact. Amen.
Thank you very much for the presentations. I think I have my own questions even before we get questions from the floor. Anyone with a question on the two presentations? My first question is, you talked about a church accountant and a treasurer. Are these different people? And are they employees of the church or are they church workers?
Okay, the church treasurer is a voluntary role. Is a church officer, but now the voluntary. A church accountant is a church worker employed by the church for that specific role. The church treasurer is the face of the church treasury as per the church manual and is the one who reports to the board. But the church accountant does the day-to-day bookkeeping, record keeping, and ensuring that all matters finance
Right, thank you.
Order.
Maybe Tony, you can help us project to see if there are any other questions. But my second question is, so you talked about a requisition process, but I've not seen any mention of a finance committee in there. So was it just a flowery name to a committee somewhere? Where do they come in this requisition process? Requisition approval process.
Very observant there. Okay, I must have omitted it in my presentation. When the church board, after the elders council discuss the activities, anything with the budgetary implication. Okay, for us, let me say, it doesn't work as it's supposed to be because the treasurer in our church is an elder who sits at the elders council. So, because budgeting and budgetary control,
the church treasurer sits at the
the
elders
church
council
treasurer is an elder of the church
and
who
sits
sits
at
in
the
the
elders
council. So at that point, because me being the stewardship leader should be doing that, but now him being part of the finance committee has the budgetary tools that we have. So they check during that point. If an item is not budgeted for, then it's returned at that point for further discussion. But ideally, it's supposed to come, the finance committee should clear any request with budgetary implication.
Okay, you also mentioned an internal audit team. Who are these? Because now I'm getting confused. There's a committee, there's stewardship council, there's treasury, there's internal. How are all these people working together? Because it sounds like just so many moving parts.
So the stewardship council is our finance committee, so that you can mark that to be one. Internal audit is an oversight function. You see, the finance committee, the treasurer, these are just like the finance, accounting and finance department. But there is an independent oversight function which checks the work of now that finance function of the church. Yeah, so internal audit does not work in liaison with finance committee. It's an independent function reporting to the church board.
All right. Yes. Any questions or comments from people who have not spoken, perhaps? Question, comment? Okay, so we can take the two hands. Please make them brief.
I don't know if this is the end of the training. I'm speaking like an ordinary person. And I really want to understand what I am picking from this training, going with it home. Because I feel it is general. I want something that I can, as a leader, I can go with at home.
Thank you. Elder Oding.
Thank you so much. Number one, my brother Mambo, I've seen you've talked about the chart of accounting. Then at the end of it, it is actually, it gives us, to the end of it, we are going to reach what is called the economic, the economic item. I don't know what would happen whereby at the end of it, you find that the economic item in this place does not having the finances. How do you work about it? Then, secondly, it is on the auditing. Actually, the auditing, there is an aspect of independency. This one is an independent person, which gives the financial position of any organization at the end of it, giving a reporting opinion on the true and the fair view of the financial statement, which may be at the end of it might be qualified, unqualified, adverse to that. Now, in this case, I've seen whereby you are doing an end-to-end in a system, which I really appreciate. And in fact, it's a good thing that if we can implement it. The purpose of it, I believe it is for the internal control. Is it done by one person, or how is it done?
Yes, I'll try to. Thank you, Elder, for the question and the. So let me pick from the last one about the system. Yeah, the good thing with the system is to one, to remove that manual process, that manual, like I have to get this leader to sign for me here, and another one. So efficiency, as well as now the internal controls. If I'm not available to sign off as required in that now procedure or process, then I don't know whether this applies here, but we used to see circumventing of those controls because you see, Elder, I'm not in town, so these things used to pass in a way that circumvent the controls. But now with a system, wherever you are, like you are privy to, this is the request. Can I see support documentation? It was cleared by the board. Has it gone through the normal approval process? Now it gets to, like that segregation of duties ensures that process is end to end. So that is the beauty of a system where we don't have gaps or exercising of maybe special case treatment because of availability of approvers. The first one, I think I lost you. The first comment. Vinny, maybe could you?
I think I didn't also understand the question very well. It wasn't very clear.
Oh, yours I remember. I think I remember.
Your question. Oh, I thought it was Elder Oding's question. For yours, I totally understood. Yours I understood. So we can answer, how safe is the digital requisition process?
I'm not an IT expert, but I would say
Comparing it to the manual, because
Comparing to the
why did you
manual-
move from manual to digital? Can people infiltrate into the digital system? Have you thought about infiltrations? Are there checks that you've put in place in your requisition process so that somebody doesn't come in with a requisition, does the whole approval, and money is released?
I think now I get it. So it starts from access controls. Only departmental leaders have access to that system. So it starts from there, and only a departmental leader can initiate that process. So if a leader initiates that, then it goes to the subsequent approvers. I don't see any like risk of infiltration because we have access controls.
Thank you. So to the last question.
Let me respond to him before I get what the first one. He talked about
Take
the
homes.
take homes. The presentation may be generic, and that's why I was pointing out to my experience in Parklands, because now it is for you now to look at what would work for us. What can we apply here? Maybe that which is not working. So maybe the first one, let me talk much about the controls and the audit because they feed into these other processes. Do we have active departmental councils? Because these things, where these requests and requisition, especially because the church finances is a hot potato in any organization. So we need to ensure that our councils are active, and we can be able to get to be requesting for council minutes. So that now, if this is an activity or any initiative from a department, it is not a leader deciding, it's a council meeting and deliberating on a matter. Then this now goes to the, like those levels of oversight and checks will ensure entirely that we have proper, robust procedures and processes, and they end up in reporting of finances that we can rely on. And if you have an internal audit function, can be able to always periodically check whether whatever is being presented is accurate based on support documentation. So I would say maybe you could ponder about whether, as a leader, how is your department? How do you go about activities within your department? Is it an active one? Do you have councils which often meet and deliberate on matters? When matters of finance are brought to the church board relating to your department, are you in a position to be able to interrogate? Maybe I saw Armor department, our kitty shows this, and based on your tracking of this is what we have, these are the activities that we've had, and this was the financial implication of it. Do you also have your internal checks for your department specifically to be able to, like when church finance reports are being presented, you can be able to interrogate even the treasurer on matters, your department. So if every person is doing that, then you find we may not even need an internal audit function. So what I've seen in Parklands, departmental leaders previously rarely knew, like just see your figures presented there, you're wondering, hey, we have that much. So there is that need to be able to interrogate when church financial reports are being made for your department. At least you understand the incomes, the expenditure, this is what is showing on our bank reconciliation. Is that accurate or not? So I think on that process, maybe we can ponder about. Then about finance committee, if you don't have a committee, it's high time you think of the council. Now you can just, if you meet as a council, I don't know whether you meet oftenly, because if it's stewardship council, mainly you may find you're meeting because you're planning a week of prayer, or maybe you want to promote giving for maybe such. But when it's a finance committee, you find yourself oftenly meeting to discuss financial requests within the church and looking at budgets. Are they within budget? How are we performing versus budget? Do we give updates to the church of how we are performing vis-a-vis budget? So when it's a finance committee, you find that there's more to deliberate upon than when it's just the stewardship council.
All right, so you can answer the last question. We are out of time. Are there best mission budgeting methods, and what are they?
Budgeting methods.
You present, I believe it's because you presented something to do with a separate missions budget, and you highlighted also how you budget for missions. So what are the best methods for budgeting for mission?
I would generally talk about budgeting. The best approach is to, just the way I talked about work plans, ensuring that you engage. Like, what am I budgeting for? I'm budgeting mainly for departments and for departments have ministry programs. So I'm focused on what is the strategy of the church, what is the mission of the church. Maybe during that particular period in time, what is the key emphasis? Then you engage stakeholders, because now as the finance committee or the stewardship leader, you are not the one who knows how much do we need for this. You'll engage the members, the leaders. So you get the plans, then you incorporate them now in a budget. And now the budget is also informed by what was the actual performance during the year for all those particular. So there is the aspect of looking at historical data and identifying patterns and aligning. Now we need to do much of, maybe if we did evangelism, we did crusades, it cost us maybe $1 million. Are we targeting to do another crusade the following year? If we don't want to do another outreach program, the budget line for that outreach program will not be as much. Maybe it could be 100,000 and not now $1 million like in the previous year. This year we could be targeting, we want to buy equipment. Maybe you find that you have a shortfall of equipment, maybe when doing to enhance maybe worship services, you need to buy this communication equipment. So you'll find yourself budgeting more for that. So it's looking at what is the need, what are the needs and the focus the church wants to gear its energies to, and then you allocate much more there. So there's looking at historical data, identifying trends, and also looking at the strategic focus of the church. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe, yes, question. You can come to the front to jam. Please come to the front and use a microphone so that the online people can also.
Amjambo. I've seen here we have internal auditors. Wanakuanga wapi? Mwangaza sijawahi ona. Internal auditors sijawahi ona. Maybe that might be the reason where we have recurrent problems. Should we have internal auditors in the church? And who should initiate that? Second question. Is it proper for a church treasurer to transact money on behalf of a departmental leader? Is it okay?
Thank you for the question. The initiative to have an internal audit function comes from, it may come from many quarters. It can come from members or at the church board level when maybe during the presentation of treasury reports, you may find there are many questions done. There are many questions to a particular presentation, the numbers, so when there is such, it occasions need for an independent oversight of that treasury process. So for us, we felt we needed more confidence of whatever the treasury team reports to the board. Someone who is not in that process, in that docket of treasury, to give, and someone with the skill set is an auditor by profession, not someone who says, I can do that. Someone with that skill set who can be able to do that. And now, when they give reports, now the church, the treasurer, together with the finance committee, now the treasury leader is also part of that. Finance committee now responds to the findings and issues raised by the auditor. It could be we are having process lapse. We know this is how the process should work. Maybe like requisition, like he's saying, can a church treasurer transact on behalf of a departmental leader? If it's in the process, then it can't work. If it's a system, it can't work. The leader must transact, must give their input in that process. If they're not comfortable, they can reject at that point. So that is the essence of having everyone in the process being responsible for their action. So if a treasurer is acting on behalf of a departmental leader, then there is no process, actually, because if the leader has not initiated the process, then already that's a lapse. There is no control. And we usually say in audit, trust is not a control. We can't say because this is an elder of the church, he's the treasurer, he's transacting, so we trust. No, trust is not a control. And that's why there is need for that accountability. Like there's someone who is overseeing you and checking if they identify gaps in a process, or you're not able to explain or account for finances through support documentation, then that is raised as a finding and an issue. And if the board or the body that makes decision feels it either for someone to be relieved of their duty, then that is done. And that is the beauty of having now an independent function. So it can be initiated by members, it can be initiated at the board level, but if there is either undertones of lack of that transparency or I would say confidence in whatever is presented to you by those charged with the responsibility of that, then it's always important to initiate such a process. It's just any other, it's not someone you're paying, it's a church officer, voluntary role, can just ask within the church, do we have someone with audit background? Can you help us in this? And then you set up an audit function, just like any other department.
There's one last question. We don't have lunch for you, so we don't intend to keep you here longer. So let's stop asking them many questions. We'll ask them next time. How can a ministry lobby resources for a mission, for outreach, evangelism?
Back to our fundraising methods. One, we may want to fundraise internally. We promote the specific need for outreach, mission outreach within the church, and say maybe come Q2, this particular date, we want to do mission activity. This is the budget. Of course, it's when you're presenting such, you already had analyzed and come up with a budget. So you present to the church, we have a budget of $500,000 to do a mission outreach somewhere with all the specifics. The local church budget cannot fund this, maybe because it was not budgeted. So you resort to the other methods, like you come up with now those like pledge forms, give out to members. Just tell any member to pledge whatever they can towards that. Of course, there needs to be, it needs to be timely in a way that you can be able to fundraise over time and obtain. So that's one way. The other way, you could reach out to, if it's a mission outreach, to reduce the burden of that budget, you could reach out to groups, mission groups. Like, do you need a singing group? Can you identify a singing group that can support? I mean, it's like they want to support, they don't want to be financed. Such manner, you reduce the burden of that budget. Yeah. And if the church is able, then this can be financed from the evangelism budget.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I believe there were a few other questions that had been asked by the at the onset for the panel. So I'd like to invite Elder Willis and Pastor Pascal, even as we come to a close. There are a few questions on leadership. Tony, you can help us project them. Elder Willis and Pastor Pascal can join us so we can ask them those few questions, and Elder Willis will do a vote of thanks, and that will be the end of our seminar. So this is the very first leadership seminar we've had. We don't know what your expectations were, and our expectations, there's always room for better. So we'll ask you to give us your feedback. We'll also be doing some appreciation and some cards for you. So please make sure you drop your contacts and your registration, your emails. We'll give you some nice thing on your email. So make sure you drop your email and your phone number so we can be able to reach out to you after this for feedback on how to do this better next time. And also other things we can consider as we are planning this leadership seminar. So there are a few questions that had come. There's the question on how do you work with a leader who makes decisions by himself without involving other council members?
Thank you. That question is technical because from the onset, that is not a leader. That is not a leader, because from the definition of leadership that we talked about, this person must be an influencer. An influencer is a person that takes views of others into account even as they make their decision. But again, even as a leader, you can also have your desire. But when you have your desire, you must have the backing of the people you are leading, so that that desire you have for that particular group or team is now backed up with the team that you are leading. In other words, what I'm trying to say, that I can make a decision as a leader, but I cannot impose that decision to the members. I must seek and find a way of influencing them to follow that desire that I want. So that is the leadership. In that one now, border on management. That is a manager. You know, a manager directs. The manager directs, manager controls, manager ensures efficiency of decisions that are being made in an organization. So managers are the ones that can impose a decision and expect the team to follow.
Okay. Thank you. I'm picking the second one. What are the performance appraisals that will include in weighing performance? The Adventist Church has a manual. Elders has an elders manual. Youth ministries have manuals. So how will you see that someone is working? Is he or she within the objective of the what? Of the club. Pathfinder Club has. So that is where you can say that based on the church, elders are supposed to do A, B, C, D at their visitation and the rest. So that's why you can easily say that the elder or the director for the Pathfinder Adventurer Club are what? Are working. But if we can use other means, but I'm speaking as a pastor, I'm speaking as a member of the Adventist Church, where we are guided by our respective handbooks. We are guided by our church manual that has given us how to know that, is Vinny a stewardship leader? How will you know that Vinny is working well as per her leadership? We'll look at like now what we are doing here, this such kind of trainings that he is organizing. That's when you can easily say that someone was elected for a position and he or she is working based on the requirement. Me as a pastor, if you know, we have pastors, ministers handbook, we have ministers manual. If I am working with those ones, you can say that this person is what? Is working. Anything beyond that, other things are just to help us enhance our leadership. That's one. Number two, willing members expressing their interest in various church positions other than proposals. We said that we talked about mentorship and the plan. Every person who is willing to work must show him or herself there. No one will know that you want to serve as a deacon and we've not seen you showing interest. There's something that I forgot. It's called interest. When I am looking for mentorship or for service, are you interested in that particular thing? I might push you to something and you're not what? Interested. I just see you are big enough, you are tall enough to be a leader. You know, some say that leaders will be tall. People like me and Vinny, we are short. So how will we be seen? We talk much so that we can be tall like Elder Willie. So I'm saying those who have interest in various, bring yourself, be there, volunteer. Ask Vinny, I want to be incorporated. I believe I can help here. That's why many a time you say, we have Pathfinder teacher who have come and join. So you need to even say that I can help here and there. Don't wait to be what? To be told that you can work. Bring yourself, be there, and then the nominating committee. It is good that church members understand our system. I want to believe you are following the GC session. Are you following? You see how the church operates from the what? General conference. How nominations are done. Our president was proposed by the nominating committee. He was voted by the nominating committee. But who accept him to be the president? Church members. The delegates that were there. They voted 1,700 against what? 188. And it carried the day. So the nominating committee will always do proposals as per how they are guided as per the knowledge they know about Pascal or Agneta. After them doing the proposals, who confirms? The church. And if there's anyone who has an issue, will not speak there, but will go to the what? Nominating committee to say that you chose Pascal, but I believe Tony is ABCD, and then they will reconsider or consider what you are saying. So it is good that church members understand so that we can work well. Thank you so much. God bless you. Maybe Elder, you can finish because it is your time for vote of thanks. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. There was a question of, I saw a question on, is leadership contextual? There was a question like that. Somebody asked, is leadership contextual? Yes, leadership is contextual. Leadership is affected by the environment. Leadership is affected by situations. Leadership is affected by the people they lead. So it is true that leadership is contextual. I want to take this opportunity to, first of all, apologize. This department is a department of stewardship, and we must lead by example of being good stewardship of time. And we have surpassed our time that we are allocated, that we will end by 1. And that is heartfelt apology. We are not intending to be a bad example when we are calling ourselves stewardship department. Now, finally, I want to take this opportunity to thank each one of you who found time to come so that we can learn together, empower ourselves, and more so to learn from experiences of other churches to advance our ways of operations, and to see if there is possibilities of some things that can be improved, because we are the leaders of the church. If there is anything that you have picked from the presentation of our guest that can help our church to move forward in the right direction, those things need to be implemented. And it is us who can initiate them. It is us who can influence the church to accept them. It is us who can make our church better. So I want to thank each one of you for finding time to come. Secondly, I want to thank Mambo, our guest, for coming and giving us a serious, insightful information and experience from a different angle and a different environment at Parkland. And the presentation is so timely that there is aspects that we have clamored for that has come out from your presentation. I hope that one of these fine days we will find courage to start implementing some of them, especially the online requisitioning processes and approval. That one is a good control measure that can help our church, and even the internal audit aspect. We want to appreciate your coming. We want to appreciate your valuable inputs and the insights that you have given unto us. Thank you so much. We want also to thank our stewardship leader. One thing I've learned, there was a question that was supposed to be asked. Who is the leader you are looking for? Or who inspires you? To me is Muhammad Gadi, but in this church, I can say Winnie is also a leader that inspires me. That when she decides that she wants to do something, there is a way she influences. And that is why I say leadership needs influence. When we have a meeting of council, and Elder Paddy will tell you, Elder Javan will tell you, when Vinnie speaks, there is a way that he influences you to an extent that you don't have any other question to ask, but just to agree with her. And that one has made this department to have a smooth running, and that's the reason why we are even having this seminar today. We want to appreciate your leadership. We want to appreciate what you are doing for this church. Finally, I want to appreciate the panelists that were here. I've already appreciated Mambo. Now I want to appreciate our pastor. Pastor Parkal feels so much appreciated for coming in and giving us that angle of leadership, and more so ensuring that we are in touch with church leadership. We want to appreciate your valuable inputs and the experience that you have shared, and it has some impact, how we are going to make decisions going forward. See, I also appreciate myself for being present and doing exactly what I've done. May God bless us. We are not giving lunch this time round, but I'm urging my leader that next time when we have a seminar, lunch needs to be provided. We will endeavor that when we have another seminar next time, we will provide lunch, because this group and the number that is being fed here on Sabbath, and with the amount that they normally use, I think this number we would have managed so well to give them lunch. And I've even talked with the first elder. We apologize for that, and next time we will ensure that we have lunch for you. May God bless us.
Thank you. Pastor Pascal, you can come.
You receive greetings from Pastor Ruben Ongaki. He's aware of this and is happy. That's why I was out, that the number is good. I was briefing him of how things are, and he's happy. Elder Mambo, he's happy. And we pray for him as he travels back, coming to continue serving us here. So have you received? Mmepokea? Thank you so much. Allow me to offer a word of prayer. Father in heaven, we thank you so much for being good to us. We appreciate your name and your greatness for giving us a chance to come and share together. We appreciate the invitation that came through the stewardship department, through Elder Mambo, who came to give us some experiences and some insights on how best we can be good leaders, and more so in financial line. I pray for this wisdom to continue giving us thoughts on how best we can serve as your children at Mwangaza SDA Church for now and for the future. We want to appreciate the leadership that came through Elder Willie Saula, our first church elder, Elder Edwin Otieno, and our church pastor, God, for making this environment fit for all of us. I want to pray for the young and old who came to listen. May you walk with us as we depart, going to our activities of the day. As we begin the week today, we pray that, God, may everything go well. As we plan to come and worship each and every Sabbath, God, may our worship be accepted. Walk with us as we serve you. My prayer is that, God, may one of these fine days, when you come a second time in the mid-air, we all meet in the heaven, in the mid-air, to be with you in heaven forever and ever. It is our prayer, believing and trusting in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you. Thank you.